there was a comment, I'll show the schedule on the next slide here, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to call our meeting to order. Today is Monday, the 27th, 2021. We're going to call our workshop meeting to order to discuss redistricting and redrawing boundaries. So with that, I'll ask you to join us in the Pledge of the Flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
And as we do at the start of each one of our meetings, we ask that you join us in a moment of silence as we think about, remember, and pray for all of our first responders here in Flagler County, our law enforcement officers, and the brave men and women of our United States military that keep us safe both here and abroad. Okay, thank you, everyone. So, as I said, this is a redistricting discussion, and as it says in our handouts here, it's to examine the parameters for redrawing the boundaries of existing county districts to keep them as nearly equal in population as possible, based on our 2020 census as required by the Florida Constitution and Florida Statutes, Chapter 124. After this meeting, at a later date, we'll conduct a joint meeting with the school board where both of our respective boards can jointly select new district maps of the county for our redistricting. So with that, I'll turn it over, I guess, it looks like, to Mr. Salinas.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Jorge Salinas. And I'm going to be covering the redistricting that the staff has been working on. We started back in July. The supervisor of election provided a kickoff meeting for this process. And between August and September, there's been data coming in from the census, and also our GIS team has been working on developing these options for you. On September 20th, staff met to review the final draft that was going to be provided today to you. And also on the 24th, we met with the school board staff to make sure that we were in alignment from that perspective as well. So that takes us to today. We have our first workshop next October, this coming up October the 5th, is our joint meeting with the school board members. And then we have two separate meetings where the Board of County Commissioner will provide an option for public hearing, and also the school board will do the same. So basically, on the meeting on the 5th is where the Board of County Commissioners can select one of the options to move forward for the public hearing. So today is just a listening session to see the options, and then if you would like to see other options, then we take those notes and provide other options for you to consider. We have a deadline of December 2021. If we don't complete this by this deadline, then we have to wait till December to 2023. It's done every odd year. So redistricting is the process by which differences in population within the district are equalized by making adjustment to the boundaries. Why do we need to redistrict? It furthers the principle of one person, one vote, and the provisions of the Voting Rights Act. Also is mandated by the Florida statute and Florida Constitution. Who's responsible for this process? The legislative body of the county, in this case, our Board of County Commissioners, school district, or municipalities, need to adjust the district boundaries for the governing body. So it's something that the Board of County Commissioners need to do.
Jorge, will these boundaries, whatever we decide, and that'll be the same for the city?
No, not the city. This is
They'll
just
do
for,
something
yeah, they can do, they have to follow a similar process for their governing body. But here, the school board can do their own, but the past practice has been, they've been working with the Board of County Commissioners and selected the same boundaries for the districts. When is this required? It's required every census, and then the Board of County Commissioners need to divide the county into districts of contiguous territories as nearly an equal population as practicable. And it should only be done on odd numbers of years, like as I referenced earlier. So if we miss the deadline of December 2021, which we are on track not to miss that, we would have to wait till 2023. Some of the criteria to consider, there's a few more, but I just put kind of the high-level ones that might be of interest. It needs to be as equal in population as possible. We cannot dilute the minority voting strength. We have to follow census block. We may consider existing boundaries, but if they don't provide that percentage of deviation that we're looking for, you might need to adjust that. We try to follow significant natural and man-made boundaries, and we try not to split neighborhoods or cities. And then we try to keep them as compact and must be contiguous. And we do not draw incumbents out of their district. That's
Quick question on that. If someone lived in one district now and is an elected official, and they were districted out, in other words, they now live in a different district for a whole bunch of reasons, at what point do they have to step down, rerun for election, or just wait till the next election?
my understanding is, based on these criteria, we cannot redistrict a incumbent out. Is that, Sean, is that correct?
Okay, so it's not just grandfathered, it's...
No, we just can't.
You just can't do it,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
So to cover, and just wanted to mention also that when we're doing this redistricting, it's not the same as the zone attendance districting. It's completely different. This is just for voting purposes, not for school attendance. So it's completely different. They have their own
Gotcha, yeah.
process. So here is an example of the current district that we have in place. And for Flagler County, you can see that District 3 and District 5 have a percent deviation that is well beyond the 10% that we're looking to be under. So given the changes in population, right now, District 3 stands at 12.9% above that even number that we're looking for. And District 5 stands at -7. So between 12.9% and -7, there's a 20.433 point deviation. And we have to modify the districts, redraw them in a way that they will be under 10. So now we're going to go over each district, comparing the current against option A and option B, and then we'll look at the overall two options together. So Jared, if you can change. So here, District 1, which is Commissioner Dance's district, you can see that the shaded green area with the red line is the current district. With option A, District 1 would gain that other shaded green towards the bottom right, which is outside that red boundary line. That'll put District 1 within -0.68% from the even number of, the even number I believe is 23,076. So it's only 157 under by adding that portion.
I'm going to talk about 1, 5, and 3, because this affects me too. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me to do it this way. If you look at the map, the first map, which shows all the districts,
Yeah.
the one you just had on, just put that one back up.
The original one?
The first, the one that shows the whole thing.
Oh, we haven't got to that one yet. That's coming up.
The first,
Yeah, no, we haven't come. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I'll
well, then
get
I'll
there.
explain what
Yeah.
I'm doing here.
Yeah,
then.
yeah, I'll get there.
Okay, this
I'm gonna go-
area right here is where the high school is, okay? And it's not heavily populated. If you look right above that, it is a populated area, and District 1 has to pick up some addition. It's also, there's a little notch out there where I can't get across, directly across 95 and Old Kings Road there. And it would seem to me that you'd leave the area you're talking about in my district, because it's down 100, and the District 1 people, the Andes, they're all over there in that western part, west of 95, and could much easily go into that area that's popular, right above where you're saying that you're going to pick them up. Why would you leave that little notch in there for District 3 and not just expand, since District 1 needs more people in there?
Yeah, we'll get to your piece here,
Okay, but it
basically.
affects what you're saying right now.
Yeah, yeah. It's basically done based on numbers, so this is.
There's something else going on there.
But we're trying to reach that 23,076 number per
Yeah,
district.
I know,
Close
but
to that.
I can tell there's other reasons they did it this way.
Yeah, no,
Well, it is, but this does not affect Benel.
and this is, Commissioner Sullivan, this was done by us here in the GIS team. This was not done by anybody else outside. It's just the
Okay,
GIS,
fine, go.
following the criteria that I outlined at the beginning, we just try to follow
Okay,
those as
okay,
quickly as possible.
Okay, fine.
Okay. So this is the comparison of current against option A. Current against option B is very close. It provides it as close to that mean value that we're looking at, only -7. But the only difference that you see is on the upper left, there's a little notch there. There you go.
Yeah.
That adds the additional 150 residents to make it this close.
Okay.
But it doesn't, it kind of creates this little space on top that might not be following the boundary that we're looking at. So both options that we're providing meet all the criterias. You just have to select one option or give us direction to provide a different option. So this is District 1. District 2, option A is keep it the same way it is. All the calculations that were done supports having option A and keeping it the same way it is. So that doesn't change anything against current. Option B gets it a little bit closer to that number, but only by adding a portion of what exists today in Commissioner Mullen's district up there on the middle north side of that boundary. But that creates kind of an even, you see the line will be not straight, so that way, that's why we provided, this option keeps it more as a straight line, one of the criteria we're trying to follow. This one creates a little bit of evenness over the whole process for option 2,
Yeah,
District
I
2.
drove over there, and it's kind of strange.
Yeah.
That little bump out there, it's kind of strange.
So this will be option B for District 2. District 3, which is Commissioner Sullivan. So in your case, the population has grown a little bit, and option A would remove that segment up in the middle between, on the left side there, which is about 936 residents. It provides a deviation from the mean of minus 4.056%. That's option A.
That's the one I'm talking about. You understand, you're putting that green in between 1 and 5, that green area to the west of 95. You can't get from the other part of the green there without going across 95 and Old Kings Road. It doesn't, why not just put that in District 1 or District 5 so it's contiguous for them, put the area where the school is, which is not highly populated, and I need to lose people, down along 100, and I have immediate access there. So putting that little notch of green there, especially if you're trying to lose.
You're saying put that there.
Right.
And then let that, yeah.
Divide these two up.
Yeah, instead of having it
And I'll bet it has something to do with where somebody lives.
What we can do is, the feedback, we can actually put this into the model.
Yeah,
and-
just see how it would work
But
out.
the numbers have to be within that range that we're talking
But
about.
I want to lose people in District 3. So this would make me lose people.
So this is option B for District 3. Yeah.
And its access, all those, my access into that area, if we really worried about, but it's also for the school board. There's no direct access in there for me from the other parts.
I think
Because of
what
95.
What he's proposing is to take what you see highlighted in orange and turn that into Commissioner Dance's district. That way he
Right,
can
and then
still
put
access it.
Yeah, and the area that I already have, just leave that.
Switch the
with me.
two.
You
We would
wouldn't
have to
even-
look at the population.
Yeah.
Instead of having it here and here.
Right.
His in the middle, put his down here and let that top go.
We would just
have to
have to
run it.
look at the population, and although you say that that area by the high school doesn't have a lot of population, it takes into account all residents, not just voters, and you've got a lot of apartment complexes in town center, and that area that we first showed was picking up all of those residents through town center.
And I know you got to go with current, but the rest of my area, and I don't care, I'm not going to.
No, I understand. It would be
But
easier.
my point is, the way things are going here in the county on Colbert and John Anderson, we're going to have big population increases there in my district. So you don't want to be doing this every 2 years, right? And so you should anticipate growth too. Same thing for all of us. But I don't, it's no big deal. I mean,
It
I'm
would
just-
probably make it cleaner and easier for you to access your population off of 100 than it would be to come down 100, up Belterre to hit
Yeah.
a small pocket, or off of Old Kings.
You've got a brand-new
gonna
residential
grow.
community that's
Yeah.
nearing residential, and then a whole nother one that's going through the permitting process. Publix with phase one, it's a few.
yeah, I'm just looking at it from,
We have to look at the numbers.
You're saying that you want to lose residences if you keep town center.
well, are we,
You're
okay, so.
swapping a stagnant area
Yeah.
for one that's growing as well, so they have to.
I know, I'm just going for ease of
But we
access.
think eventually all that's gonna go to you as his grows more to the coast.
But we're only dealing for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, I think
Well,
I
anyway,
don't think
just
there's any
take a
ulterior
look. We're going to
motives
take a
other
look
than
at it, right? If
statistics.
it's,
Yes, exactly. It's based on numbers.
right,
And we can run the numbers for this option that Commissioner Sullivan is talking about, but it seems if it's densely populated, it's going to skew it more than the 10 percentage points that we're looking
Now,
at.
Dave, why is access an issue? Because that's part of Palm Coast. They're not going to,
it sits there as a little adjunct, and I think you can fix it.
yeah, but why?
Well, why are you doing, well, why do this?
To get the
What's
numbers.
required?
It's just a numbers game. That's all it is.
I'd like to see the numbers on that.
It's right
Because that's a
there.
heavily
they're here.
populated
They're
area.
right here.
Yeah.
The numbers are
But there
right
were
here.
some other reasons. I just want to make sure it's not because some school board member lives there now and they can't.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No,
Well,
these
that
are-
was one of the criteria.
Yeah. No, these were done by your GIS team based on the numbers.
Okay. But I thought you couldn't, if somebody lived there now, you couldn't move them.
Well, knowing that
Whether it was a school board member or-
your counterpart is South Flagler Beach.
And we actually had them on a different map internally with staff. These additions that we're moving,
okay,
it has
okay. I made
nobody
my-
living in
that's-
those areas,
fine.
so.
I made my point, just to kind of clean it up geographically.
And we can sit with you and give you, show you the data if you want to see further.
Go on.
District 4, Commissioner Mullins' district, this is the current against option A, which doesn't change it. Now, this is with the option that we talked about earlier from District 2, just moving that over to Commissioner Hanson's District 2. So you can see the only difference is on the northeast side of it.
Yeah. But that's kind of independent.
District 5, Sherman O'Brien's district, the current against option A would add 1,093 and would put it at 4.73% from the even value. So it extends to the south of the district. It doesn't change that much, but you can see that option B grows a little bit further down there. You can see that change in the bottom there.
Part of it, that's coming.
That's part of it.
Yeah,
That actually throws off.
Yeah.
yeah.
So it almost seems to me, Andy, that eventually, between 1 and 5, you'll divide up that whole area all the way down to 100, where the school is. And
Maybe.
yeah,
But maybe
yeah.
not in the 10 years.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
that,
in 10 years.
So this is the current district map as it stands today. And you can see that earlier, and I mentioned the deviation between District 3 and 5 that is not sustainable under this current district boundaries. This will be option A. And part of that option is to keep that same section that Commissioner Sullivan was talking about within District 3. District 5 would grow to the south a little bit, and then District 1 would grow to the east a little bit. Basically, with this option, both District 2 and 4 do not change.
so,
With option B, District 1 will continue the same model, which is growing a little bit to the east. District 3 will be losing 2 segments. And District 2 would grow a little bit into the west side, into District 4. But this is kind of the most balanced approach in terms of numbers. You can see the percent of deviation is in the 0.0 something on the value itself.
Yeah.
But it creates these uneven line structures. That's why we were providing both. One is, this is the kind of the almost perfect solution for the districts because the numbers are very even. You can see the values are -7, -3, -4. This one doesn't provide as a perfect solution, but it does provide, meets other criteria like keeping things contiguous and less changes as possible.
Well, it seems to me this is just a numbers drill at all this, because we're not elected by our district. We're elected on an open ballot. So it really doesn't matter to me at all. I think it's just a numbers game. So let's get it as close to perfect as we can and be done with it.
Well, the only way it will matter is if somebody lives in that district. I see what Dave's talking about. Instead of having that little piece in the middle, maybe move it down to town center. Potentially, Andy's or
yeah,
somebody.
D1 and D5 eventually should divide up that whole area down to 100.
You
see how
can't, you can't redistrict based on political
No,
considerations.
it's not political.
What?
It's where the population's going.
No, it
It's
makes,
just a numbers game.
it makes no difference
I'm just saying,
whatsoever because.
if it's going to be there for 10 years, I guarantee that at some point, D1 and D5 should have, divide up that area down to 100, including the high school. And D3 will be growing because of all the growth along, Colbert and John Anderson, big time. I'm just trying to see, if we did that now, it'll be better for the future. I don't care if you do it now or not.
We can provide, if the board desires, we can provide
I
another
still think
option
somebody
with-
lives in one of those spots.
to meet some of the numbers that Commissioner Sullivan is talking about. But if it doesn't meet based on numbers, it's not something that we can consider because it's not meeting the main criteria.
Basically, that all falls in the city anyway.
Yeah.
Right, it's all in the city.
Countywide elected, so that
Quite,
person,
yeah.
anything there, it doesn't, it may change. The only thing I can see different is
Put your mic on, please.
I lived in the middle. If I lived in the middle, I could run for whichever seat it got redistrict to. Other than that, I mean, again, it's just numbers. It's all,
Yeah, we can't consider future candidates. We only have to consider current.
right.
I don't care about the candidates. I'm just saying, I'm the one that has more population than anybody else right now. So dropping population for me is the way to go.
But that's not one of the criteria that we need
It
to
is.
follow.
No,
So you
we
have
set
to
it up.
balance it. as close as even as possible to that mean number.
Well,
You've
but
got a
right,
deviation area,
Yeah.
so in
well, I'm the
theory,
one
you
that has
can
the
account-
12%.
it
One-
leaves
one at a
little bit
time,
of
guys.
Yes,
leeway.
under 10, yeah.
Let me just mention a couple things. I know you didn't zoom in, but on, I think it's on the second district that's creeping over past 95.
Yeah, it's over, that's in the L section. I
Right.
drove it yesterday. I went over and looked at it.
So the one thing, I know it doesn't zoom
we go.
into, but at the end of Belterre, when you go over Matanzas Woods and you get into the old golf course, it looks like it's splitting that community that's at the end that's taking over the golf course. And that's going to be one community right there at the end of, I forget the name of the road. So it would seem to me that to check with the city about where the boundaries of that development are. You may not want to split that development. It's called Lakeview Estates.
Well, that's all
Falls
new.
in the city.
It's
That's all new. Yeah, they
But
just-
it's platted,
Right.
so,
Yeah.
and it's going under, it's under development to build homes.
Right.
But it's I mean, one of the goals is not to split
To split
communities.
yeah.
So my point is make sure we're not splitting the Lakeview Estates community in two.
Correct. So are you saying this one might split it, this option B? for-
Yeah, so
okay.
north of
Yeah.
the, and I can't tell
Yeah.
from the scale, you've got the map, but north of the little key cutout.
Yeah,
At the very end of that is where the community is. So
Right.
the very northern tip
Yeah.
of the section that's west of 95.
and if that is,
Yes.
if that is a concern, you have option,
Houses there yet. I mean, there's some.
Well, not yet, but it's
Right.
all platted.
It's
and
all platted out.
Right.
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
but, that's something for you to consider, but basically, we also have option A that doesn't, it keeps it the same.
But that's just a small jog to,
Yeah.
to cut out either side of that development and put it into one or the other, just not to separate that one community.
Okay,
There are certain segments that are probably pretty stagnant or don't show a lot of growth. Donnie's is pretty much built out. I don't know that there's a lot of vacant areas within
There's some.
Commissioner O'Brien's. So if there was leeway to add a little bit to Commissioner O'Brien's, knowing that the growth is not going to be there other than the unplatted lots, then you can offset a little bit for those that are in high-growth areas like Mr. Sullivan's district. Mine's relatively stagnant. There's unplatted lots in the E's and the R's and the W's. I think there's a vacant piece in the R's that's being developed, but it's not very big. It's probably 70 lots. Even though the goal, right, so you have, Plan B shows a very strict, all the numbers are almost matching, but by the end of 10 years, and I know, you're going to have some areas that are outgrowing others. Mine and Donnie's are probably not going to grow in the current configurations. Now, you did add a growth area to mine, which is Town Center,
yeah,
which offsets the fact that the others are pretty stagnant. Again, it leaves us some leeway to look at where growth areas are so that it may be a little bit skewed now. In another 5 years, it may be even, and then the next 5 years, it starts to skew. But at the end of 10, we're not so far apart.
right. So you're asking for a option different from Commissioner Sullivan to include these changes between,
Again, our first
Yeah.
chance, not knowing where the pockets are of population, I can't really even make a recommendation. I'm kind of short on that information. So, we can go with one that evens out all of them. I'm just saying, in 10 years, some of them are going to be significantly skewed from others. And it's possible staff could kind of look at that a little bit. But, the goal is to just get them within the deviation, and I would assume that gives us leeway for growth.
we can, We can extrapolate, well, you can't extrapolate, we just have to look at where the growth is going and provide an example, but
Mr. Chairman.
this information
Well,
is based on current census data. We can't,
when I get a chance.
we can't use numbers that are.
It's a
future
similar
census data.
argument that we're talking about with the school impact fees. You crystal ball it or not? Do you try to guess where the growth is going to be and devise your plan based on that? Or do you devise your plan on what you know, which is, this is what we know? So,
I mean,
Yeah,
it's very possible that the only other thing I'm thinking of is maybe that little piece of the P section that's left of Commissioner Sullivan's is maybe that's split between Donnie and I.
Right.
And I know you don't want to split town center. Town center's one community, so you don't
Right.
want to split town center. So it's got to go one way or the other.
I just think, given everything that you said, Andy, as far as potential growth, obviously, Section 4, I mean, it's unlimited. Who knows what's going to happen over time in that whole western area of the county? But the one piece that looks to me right now that could change the wrong way over time could be what we're talking about right here. And it seems to me between D1 and D5, why not continue down to 100, and then they can work the line in between the two of those back and forth to keep the population the same.
Or has that whole Hunter's Ridge thing that we just went.
Oh, yeah, yeah, well, no, I'm not worried, I'm just saying, and there's plenty of population in D3, and it will be increasing. The stuff's already, the houses are already being built, and so, it just seems to me that,
The thing I only worry about is if you get town center as well, that's another high-growth area in addition.
no, I don't get town center.
No, but that's what you were begging for a second ago.
Well, if you have to make a choice.
I just think you want to make sure that there's not a ton of high-growth areas even though we're
D3.
cutting back other areas, you're taking stagnant areas for high-growth areas.
Well, I'm just saying, if in the future, D3 is going up no matter how you cut it. Whereas D4, D1, and D5, your points being that they may or may not go up. No, I'm willing to give up the town center to D1 and D5. I'm not willing to give up, but when they look at it, and then just keep, make that line between D1 and D5, north of 100, comply with the population.
I don't have any heartburn either way.
Yeah, we're just-
I'm just saying, if you take into consideration, thoughts afterwards, I just worry that some areas are really in high growth areas, and in 10 years, we're gonna be way out of sorts instead of,
And we'll be back here in 10 years doing
I
the same
know,
thing.
every 10 years.
And we have to consider these based on the facts, the numbers that we have today. We have a population census number of 115,373, and that's how these models were derived.
I'm not going to say anything more. I've said my piece.
I want to say this. I agree with, I kind of, when Commissioner Hanson was talking about looking at the future and looking at today, the reason we're doing this is of today. We can reapproach this as we grow. Trends change. To sit here and try to guesstimate, hey, this is going to grow better, this is going to grow. Something could happen out west to cause it to massively go crazy. So I would say this really doesn't matter other than, because a lot of this falls in the city where we don't have jurisdiction other than just where we could live. But a lot of this falls into, I mean, really the areas that are the most important are unincorporated and they really don't change. So that's I don't see a problem with it either way, with either A or B.
Okay, my only feeling would be, on the one point, just to have the staff take a look at that possibility to see if it makes more sense to do it that way. And I'll go along with whatever, but at least look at that to see if you can even things up that way. And I think make the future of D1 and D5 easier to maintain, because if, you know what happens, I mean, as Andy was saying, they're already pretty well built out other than town center.
We can add the additional options for you to consider, and then we'll go back to the schedule. But basically, this is option A as it stands, and option B. And you can see main differences on the north side between District 2 and 3, District 2 and 4, and also District 5 and District 3. When I move it back and forth, you can see that's the only two major changes, visible changes.
Could I ask just one more question? Does the school board districting, is it a bigger deal where the districts are for someone, Andy, you could answer this. Did you look at that when you were on the school board? Did it make any difference where you're going to put your efforts in based on the district you were in? Say more, we run countywide, you run countywide, but in the end, does it make a significant difference to you as a school board member as to which district you're in?
It really doesn't, because even school locations didn't matter, because we would assign separately representation for schools that are separate from districts or anything else. So there really wasn't any other issues that played into it.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Salinas?
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and complete. Jerry, can you switch? I just want to give you a couple more data points from the presentation. So the next step says we have the October 5th meeting, which is a joint meeting, and you have an opportunity to ask questions to the other school board members. And we'll provide at least one more option for you to consider there, besides the A and B. And then we have the 18th, which is for the BOCC to have a public hearing. So basically on that October 5th, both boards have to select an option to bring for the public hearings that are individually done by the BOCC and the school board. So that meeting is just selecting an option, not voting yet, but just selecting an option, which one you want us to move forward for the public hearings, which will occur on October 18th and October 19th for both boards. Then it can be brought into as a resolution if the public hearing goes well and there's not too many requests for changes there, be approved as a resolution in a regular meeting. And we will probably not need that joint meeting again on November 2nd. It's an option. We have it there as a placeholder in case we need to have it. But we need to have this completed before the end of the year. So I just wanted to give you some feedback on folks that were working on this. On the BOCC side, we have Joe from GIS, Lucy Dance from administration, Sean from attorney's office, Darlene from GIS, Heidi and I worked on this side, getting this ready for working with the school district. And then we have Patricia and Paul reviewing from their side to make sure that we're meeting that criteria as well. Any additional questions?
All right, thanks.
Okay.
We'll open this one up to public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on our discussions today?
Jane Gentile, does anybody know the total geographic area of District 4? And does that play into anything at all? Because the boundaries are huge, and we have people, as Mr. Mullins said, coming into Hunter's Ridge. Plantation Bay is growing leaps and bounds. We have the reserve. Is there any way in this planet District 4 could be divided into another district, into two districts, not just one big, because it's a huge geographical area. I don't know, I have not paid that much attention to how many units are being planned in the Hunter's Ridge development, but I can see the West really, really, really growing, and it is a huge, huge area. You almost need an airplane to circumvent around District 4. So my question is, legally, is there any way to take District 4 and create another District 6 and make two districts out of that under any way, shape, or form? Is that anywhere a possibility? I mean, I think you would need a helicopter. Just looking at the geographical distance, it is absolutely huge. And at Plantation Bay, we're having such problems because we're growing and growing and growing, and the reserve across the street, Hunter's Ridge, then we have sections, I don't know if any of the reserve is any part of District 4. Mr. Mullins would know better than me. And then I see out on 304, Sweetwater, that is a gorgeous area. I see a big growth coming in the western part of the county. I see huge growth. To me, that is the next area. So if there's any way, shape, or form, District 4 could be divided into 2 districts. Just don't draw the line in front of my house, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ude. Anyone else from the public? All right, seeing no one else come forward, we'll close public comment. Anyone want to address Ms. Ude's question?
Well, it's population-based, so it doesn't make any sense to create another county out there.
Unfortunately, it's outlined in the Constitution. We have 5 districts, so we can't add another one.
Right.
And it's not based on land mass, it's based on population. So even if District 5 were to grow, it would be covered during your redistricting to absorb and change the boundaries again. So right now, it does look like it's a large land mass. However, when you're looking at the population, he just doesn't have that density. So his population numbers are the same or equal to the other districts.
And it's been a workable district for many years. It's just, it has to be adjusted from time to time too, so, yeah.
Correct.
All right, if there's no other questions or
Mr. Chair,
comments, we'll adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
All right, thank you, we're adjourned.